In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a QR code using Adobe InDesign. As you can see, I have a postcard here that has a spot where I have a QR code. Now, one thing that you do need to worry about with QR codes is, yes, there are lots of QR code generators out there, and they're free and you can use them. One thing to think about, though, is a lot of those QR code generators will generate a free QR code that expires after a certain amount of time unless you pay into their plan and pay a subscription fee. So I'm going to show you how to do it inside of InDesign, and that way your QR code will never expire and you'll be able to replicate this pretty easily as you're designing up the design that you are working on. So first off, what you're going to do is you're going to create an image placeholder, and just as a reminder, to be able to do that, you go over here to your rectangle frame tool and you can just create a box, and I would just hold down shift as you're clicking and dragging so that it constrains it to a square, since QR codes are square. And then if you click off of it, you'll have that image placeholder box there. Now I've already got one created here with a QR code in it, so I'm actually just going to use that one. So if I click on this image placeholder box that has already been created, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to Object and then down to Generate QR Code. And what that will do is it'll bring up a Generate QR Code dialog box, and you have an option to choose the content type and also the color for this QR code. First off, we'll start with content, and you can see the different types are web hyperlink, plain text, text message, email, or business card. The web hyperlink is the most common. That's what you use to scan, and it will take you to a URL. This plain text will just display a message on your screen after you've scanned it. Text message will generate an SMS text message, and it will send it to the phone when scanned. And then you've got your email, which will generate an email to a specific individual that you set. So you can put in the email address that it's going to, the subject, and the message. You can see text message, you set what the phone number is and that message is. Plain text, you just put in the content. And then business card, you can actually generate a V card using this as well. You just type in all of the information that would go into those fields, and then you generate it, and when you scan that QR code at that point, then it will download the V card that has all of this information in it for them. So we're going to create a web hyperlink today, and then we can choose color if we need to. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this really long URL, and if you are using URL parameters as well to be able to track where people are coming from for SEO purposes and to really understand the analytics behind who's scanning and going to your website, then your URL is going to be even longer. And that's really the case for me as well. And so what you could do is you can go find a URL shortener out there. There's a number of them. The one that I'll be using today is I think it's called tinyurl.com, and it is a free service as well up to a certain point. But what I like about them is they do not expire, those shortened URLs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that URL, that shortened URL, into this URL dialog box. The reason why I'm using a shortened URL is, and actually I will go back. Let's see here. Okay, so this is really the full URL that we'd be going to. So if I go ahead and do that, the longer the URL, the more complex that QR code is, and the smaller the QR code is, the harder it is for cell phones to be able to read it, or scanners to be able to read it. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Object. Where was that? Oh, there you go. Edit QR code. And if I paste in my tiny URL, or shortened URL, and then hit OK, you can see that the URL is much simpler. And if we just look at our view settings and go to high quality display, you'll be able to see it a lot better. And you can see that it does add a little bit of a white space around that box that we created, and that's normal. Basically, all you got to do at that point is click on the box. Sorry, there we go. Click on that box on the inside and just increase that size until it gets to about the same size as your image placeholder. And now when you scan it, it should take you to that same link, but it's going through, routing through that shortened URL so that you can scan it a lot easier. I did forget to show you that you can change the color of the QR code. We can come in here and we can decide, well, I want to use our brand color for this QR code, and you can just hit OK, and then it switches it to that color for you. But we're just going to keep this black for this time. So that is how you create a QR code using InDesign.